Today I want to talk about something that is extremely freeing. On this channel, my goal is to really try to liberate people from feeling all of these negative emotions that block you from that freedom. So one of the most important things that I've found that has really helped me along the spiritual path is losing this sense of myself. And by that, I mean the personal self. It is the main source of all of my suffering. I really want to talk about how you slowly begin to unravel this personal self or ego. Before I get into the video, if at any point you find that this information is helpful, then please like and subscribe so this video can reach more people who might also benefit from watching. Your personal guide to misery. The ego, the personal self, is your personal guide to feeling miserable. All of the things in my life that create pain are always linked and can be traced back to this idea of a personal self, which is essentially this idea that I'm separate from everything and from everyone. So this idea that we have a very special way of operating in the world and of being is really just this amalgam of beliefs that we've bought into from others. From the time that we're born, we're being told that we are a certain type of person. And rarely do we ever question what it is that we're being told. What we really believe to be true about ourselves is because we've bought into the opinions, the beliefs of others. So I want you to realize and really start to question, what is it that you believe about yourself to be true, and is it yours? And where did those beliefs come from? When did you take on those ideas about yourself? And lastly, how is it serving you? How are having these beliefs about you, whether they're good or bad, serving you? So what would happen if you dropped all of those ideas, all of those beliefs that you have about yourself? I want you to practice this little exercise that I've come up with. It's a very interesting one. I want you to sit first thing in the morning. That's when you're the most suggestible, in the morning and right before you go to bed. So if you can do it twice a day, that would be ideal. But even if you only do it for 5 minutes a day, it will have a huge impact on your life. So I want you to sit in the morning and really try to just drop all of the ideas, all of the beliefs, all of the opinions that you have about yourself, and simply just be with yourself and try to sense who you are without any beliefs, without any ideas about what you've taken on to be true about you. And ask yourself, what am I? Who am I, really? You may see lots of pictures coming up in your mind. You may see scenes of past events, memories happening. And all of that is just this made up idea that you are a certain way. A memory, an experience doesn't make you who you are. You're much more than your experiences. You're much more than what you think that you are. So practice doing this and really start to understand that you're not what you think you are. You're not the things that others have told you that you are. Who are we without the personal self? Now that you can start to play around with questioning these concepts that are typically not even yours about yourself, you can begin to really ask yourself, who am I when I don't have a personal self? What is my identity? And what do I become without this idea of all of these things that I thought were me? So what my experience has been is that I begin to focus my attention on the experience of being around others. And the focus that I used to have in the past was usually about me. When I would have an experience about something, it was usually focused on, what are other people thinking about me? How is this going to affect me? What does this mean about my future or my past? What am I experiencing right now? But when I begin to lose this sense of a personal self, What's beautiful, what opens up, is that I get to fully be present with whatever is in front of me. And if it's a person, or if it's just me in nature, or me at the grocery store, or me with anything, whatever is in front of me becomes the focus. And it is really this incredibly liberating thing, because now I get to enjoy and fully experience, really fully experience what is in front of me. I'm less consumed with what I think is happening to me, and I become this empowered vehicle that gets to interact with all of these things that are happening in front of me. And it's really incredible because you begin to fully become present. You fully experience your life, not partially, because that's what's happening when you're consumed with this idea of you and a personal self and what's going to happen to you and what people are thinking about you. You become so lost in that, in those thoughts, and you're not really experiencing the life that's happening in front of you. So you're in this strange dreamlike state. But when you are fully present, because you're not consumed with worrying about yourself, then you get to experience life. Then you get to fully experience this incredible journey that is right in front of you, right here, right now. Losing the personal self stops all anxiety. When you lose this idea of a person, of a story, of your personal self, what begins to happen is that you lose your fears. Your anxieties begin to lift, and it is so incredibly freeing, because most of the time we're walking around with this dark cloud around us. We're so consumed with what's going to happen next, and what does this mean, and what did that person mean by that? And we feel crushed. We have this anxiety about what's happening to us. We live in this state of anxiety and depression and suffering so much of the time, in a state of survival mode. We're really anxious a lot of the time. If you really start to catch what it is that you're thinking about, so much of it has to do with protecting this personal self. So when you lift all of that, when you stop focusing your awareness on your personal self, you begin to release all of this anxiety, all of that depression. All of it goes away because you create space for you to be you. And by that, I mean you create space for yourself to be present, for yourself to just experience life right here, right now. You're not consumed with surviving. You're consumed with experiencing life fully. Being of service to others. When you lose the sense of a personal self, what begins to happen is that you naturally become of service to other people. This doesn't mean that you literally have to go out and volunteer to help people. When you lose this sense of a personal self, you naturally take the focus off of yourself. You're not consumed with your needs. You're present. You're being with other people. It's very rare, I find, that people are really with you. Even when you're talking to someone, most of the time they're in their own head, in their own thoughts. They're having their own ideas. And it's typically about how whatever it is that you're talking about is going to affect them. So when you release all of these thoughts, all of these stories and ideas that you have about yourself, and you take the focus off of yourself, you naturally focus on the person that you're with. And when you do that, you're going to be of service to them. Being fully present with someone, you've naturally taken the focus off of yourself. And what you're doing instead is just being yourself. And that's very, very different than when you identify with your personal self or your ego. Because when you've identified with your ego, what you're doing is you're always consumed on some level as to how this person that you're with or the situation that you're experiencing is affecting you. And when you've lost and let go of the personal self, of worrying about how something is going to affect you, then you really allow this person that you're with all of the space that they need to be who they are. And that is very healing. It's healing because you're not trying to take your energy and jump into their space and choose what it is you think that they should be or how they think that they need to behave in order for you to feel okay. You instead allow them to just experience whatever they're experiencing. You're giving them space. You're allowing them to be themselves, whatever that is in that moment. And you are doing the same for yourself, your true self. You're allowing yourself to just experience, to just be, without thinking about how it's going to affect you, this idea of you as a person with ambitions and needs and desires and wants. You've let go of that and you fully experience your life. How to lose yourself. You might be wondering, okay, this sounds interesting. Maybe even this sounds great. But Margot, how do I actually do this? How do I just forget about having this personal identity? How do I actually do that? It sounds like some far-reaching idea. Well, it's really not. What it requires is that you stop consuming your thoughts with what it is that you need and start just becoming very, very present. Because naturally, when you're just present, you're not thinking about things very much. You're really not thinking all that much. And if you do begin to think, because it's very natural that we have thoughts, just observe them. Just become the witness to those thoughts. And when you do that, you're really not consumed with what your needs are. The key here is not to identify as your thoughts, with your feelings, with whatever is happening, with whatever someone is telling you. That is the key to losing yourself, is not identifying with the things that aren't actually you. I've said this many, many times. You're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, you're not your experiences. You are simply the one that is watching all of those things. If you continue to fall back and just witness all of the things that are happening to you, you'll begin to realize the one that is watching is the real you. And so that's really the key to losing yourself, is not identifying with the things that aren't you. And it's very, very simple. It's just a practice. And you don't have to beat yourself up when you realize that you've identified with something, with a thought or a feeling, something that someone is telling you. When you start to catch yourself and you go, oh yeah, that's not really me. And you just become the witness. The more you practice this, the more you practice becoming the witness, the more you will realize that you have begun the process of losing yourself, of losing this personal self. I love you all so much. I hope you can practice this week. It is one of the most liberating things that you can ever do in your life. Until next time, remember to let go. Let go of trying to be anything other than the truth of what you are.